Mic check number two.
Harley's mic. 1, 2. Ha 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 ha. 1, 2. I'm French. Ha ha.
Welcome to my latest experiment. This is a big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast. Streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet.
My left stroke just went viral. Right stroke put little baby in a spiral. Soprano C, we like to keep it on a high note. It's levels to it, you and I know. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. I'm Guy Pigden.
And I'm Harley Neville. What? Who was that?
That was Kendrick Lamar.
That little short guy. That little short guy, he's so short that he couldn't raise the bar. Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, widely considered one of the, if not the greatest rapper of the current now.
Oh, well, good for him.
But from his song Humble, don't really understand it. I don't know what stroke he's referring to. I understand that there's levels to a soprano, like to music. So the notes of music going up and down, there's levels to it. I get that, but the rest, you and I don't know, Kendrick. I don't really understand what's the left stroke, what's the right stroke, why does one put someone, why is the left stroke of a key on something went viral, left stroke of what? What's the stroke here? And then why would the right stroke put a little baby in a spiral? What do you think, Harley?
I think it's a load of dribble that rhymes. I think it's absolutely just a load of dribble that rhymes and sounds kind of funky when you say it fast.
Well,
so gets the ladies shaking their asses in the club.
Very unlikely. So we'll have to look into that. Maybe listeners can help us out.
What are they? You think that there's deep and meaningful analogies in there?
Kendrick Lamar doesn't write just shitty know nothing lyrics. They always got something going on with them. So I'd be very surprised if these actually made no sense. It would be very unlikely.
Right. I seem to recall many moons ago having an argument about whether or not beans burning in the kitchen was gibberish or not when Snoop Dogg uttered it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember having an argument that went on for possibly hours regarding whether it was gibberish or whether it was a reference to something.
Right. My conclusion was that it was gibberish.
And we Googled it. The results were inconclusive.
It was just a lot of people talking about Snoop Dogg.
But I think I thought it was in reference to a saying. But it was hard to locate. We'll have to look that up as well. Well, let's dig up an old argument from a decade ago.
That's good, because that's what the listeners want. They want to hear us arguing.
Have another argument.
No, there'll be no arguing this episode. My heart's not in it.
So, well, your heart's not in it. Why isn't it in it? Because normally it's right in there. It's real into it.
Into the argument.
Yes, it's real. It's real invested in those arguments.
No, it's not. My logical mind is. I just can't fathom seeing you with your outrageous opinions on the world, and I just can't tolerate it. But my heart sinks when we fight. I dislike it intently. But sometimes, just pushed up against the wall. Got to scrap it out. It's the way it is. So what topics you got this week, Guy?
Well, first of all, let's talk about, this is episode 101. Mm-hmm. Big 101. Following up on the big Hyundai, which we didn't really do anything for.
No.
But we did encourage people to talk about what was their favourite stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What did they like? You know, I'm imagining there's hundreds of things to go through now because the Filthy 50, the Hardy Hundy, they've got so many favorites. They've got so many things that they wanted to recall and recount and us to retell and give our perspectives on. What did they get back to us with, Harley?
Well, there was a couple, actually. Jeremy Howson suggested a poetry compilation, but not of my poems, of you slowly going cold on my poems. So it's you opening with like early days being supportive, and then leading up to the argument,
leading up to being like another one of these again.
And then also, I think it was Jeremy also suggested a compilation of the best poo stories, which I know your girlfriend Shani would be stoked to hear about. She's a big fan of that. Now, I am officially naming anything to do with me shitting, or just perhaps shit in general. I'm officially naming it here on the show, new segment, the Diarrhea Diaries.
The Diarrhea Diaries. Okay,
that's what it's going to be. Anything to do with poo, the Diarrhea Diaries. And I might envelop the Butt Chronicles in with that as well.
May as well.
Well, the Butt Chronicles are kind of specific to the upcoming surgery.
Yeah. I was tempted to write a status update today. The Shart Before the Storm. Just leave it at that.
Okay.
Just see, just test the waters with that.
Yep.
But I chose not to.
Right.
Because there's professionals reading my Facebook sometimes. So just kind of got to maybe keep a lid on the silliness.
Okay, so we've got another one here.
Well, thanks for those suggestions, Jeremy. Unfortunately, we don't have time to make those compilations. Especially that poetry one, because you'd literally have to listen to about, 40-odd episodes. And then pick the snippets, so an hour's worth, because you couldn't skip anything, because I'm only going to mention it at a certain small part. So you'd have to. So that suggestion would require listening to 40 episodes of the Guy and Harley show.
Yeah, that's the problem. They haven't given us time codes and episode numbers or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, nothing like that.
And then what was the second compilation? Oh, the poo stories. That would be marginally easier, but still a bit of work. You would have to hope that the poo stories were listed in the synopsis, that there was a poo story in it, so you could at least check just 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, well, this is what we've got to farm out this labor to the listeners. So
if anyone's got time to listen to 40 episodes,
we need time codes and episode numbers.
Yeah,
that's what we need. Now, I did have I had more feedback here.
Yep.
So, Scott Turnbull says, "Happy 100th. Thanks for swaying me towards Get Out." So obviously you convinced
bloody good
him.
watch. Good watch.
Highlight for me from the entire, it looks like from every episode. This is his overall highlight.
His favourite thing.
His favourite moment.
That we've ever done. In the history of all our chats, of all our talks, of every single thing.
This is what Scott Turnbull thinks is the crowning moment. Highlight for me is during the Great Debate episode. There's a moment towards the end, in the midst of way too much arguing, where Harley says, "This is a filmmaking podcast," and pauses. There's a silence before Guy replies, "This is a podcast about our lives." And by doing so, confirms that the friendship will prevail beyond this argument. I mean, that was about the point I wanted to just knock him the fuck out. So I didn't know it at the time. We weren't doing that on purpose, but perhaps that was what was really happening. Okay, and I've also got some feedback from Mandy Dundon, who may or may not be Jason Coombs' other half, long time listener,
significant other.
Yeah, could be wrong. Didn't do any research. Jason Coombs and I think that Guy should draw inspiration. This is for your wrestling, with regards to your wrestling persona.
Yep, the persona, which we also asked about. I said, hey, listeners, I'm going to be wrestling soon. I need a backstory. I need character development. What do you got for me?
Jason Coombs and I think that Guy should draw inspiration from the John Wick movies, a brooding loner dealing with a deep tragedy that has sent him to the ring.
I like it.
Yeah.
I really like it. Look, that's some good stuff right there.
Favorite moments from Mandy? Discussing secondhand sex toys and Harley going number 2 twice in his pants while running errands. Good moments. Now, I think Mandy actually commented on another thing, and I've lost that comment. I can't find it, so we might have to find it for next week. Sorry about that. But that's our feedback. We definitely have one more with some good shit in it, and I've misplaced it presently.
The use of secondhand sex toys is a touchy subject.
Well, yeah. The thing is, they're expensive and they're plastic, right? So they're built to last. And
they're durable. They're people.
These things are going to be washing up on beaches for years.
People think about
still usable.
These exactly.
Remote Pacific Islands are going to be using washed up dildos.
One day, when the Trump apocalypse has happened, and there's been a nuclear war which has annihilated half the world, and then the other half is sunk due to climate change. Another billion years later, a new life form will have evolved, and they'll pick up one of these dildos and rub it on their face and stuff, and go, what did these curious creatures
do with this?
What did they do with the strange contraption? It feels nice to massage my face with it.
That could happen.
And so dildos are going to be around, but do they have to be around in your next girlfriend? That is the question.
To bring it back to the point, I mean, I was going to say that there will be, just to go on a slight detour.
Sure.
There will be probably some bacteria evolving right now in landfills and so on that will eventually eat plastic. There's a massive food source there. They've just got to figure out how to break it down, kind of thing. It's a massive energy source, so they've got to figure it out, right? So they might have eaten up all the dildos before they actually evolved into intelligent beings.
Right.
Potentially.
The bacteria may have consumed the dildos.
Well, the life in whatever form it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have consumed the dildo entirely.
Exactly.
Before getting to the point of self-awareness.
Exactly.
And the ability to question what this strange object that
to rub it on your face
feels so good on their face.
Yeah,
that's possible. So we can't know. We can only speculate. Hopefully, this will be held up in the podcast archives as these guys called it.
Prediction.
These guys called it. Okay,
a prognostication.
So
it's my new word.
Prognosticate.
Yeah, I haven't really been using it. I actually learnt it from Angie when she said it. Translating it from Spanish, she just made up the English sounding version of the word, and it turned out to be a real word. She was right and I was wrong, and I was like, I don't think that's a word. It is a word.
And what does that word specifically mean? Predict.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I'm using it.
Prognosticate.
Prognosticate.
Yep. So we have talked about it, but I think we both are on the side of caution there.
Would you, if you found an ancient artifact, would you rub it on your face? Is that what I'm to take away from this?
No, I mean, I would just buy new sex toys. You got to reset the sex toy reset every single relationship. It's just the way it is.
Well, yeah.
It's the way it is. I mean, maybe...
I got a couple of dusty ones lying around.
couple of sex toys from the archives. A lot of memories wrapped up.
Sometimes you just want to grab them and just go to sleep with them. Just cuddle up against them. When you're lonesome.
But also,
just think of the memories.
Look, just imagine you're bringing out the sex toy for the first time, and it's a second hand.
So you're with a new girl.
You're with a new girl.
And you're like, hey, I know something that is going to pleasure you.
Let's try this out.
Yeah.
Here you go, baby. Now, as you're pushing it in, or rubbing it on top, or whatever you're doing.
Whatever creative thing you're doing.
Yeah. Up the butt. Whatever works. There has to be a sense memory triggered in your brain of you doing this to your previous girlfriend. as you're doing it to your new girlfriend.
Well, sure, but that's...
You're not caught up at, like...
regardless of the dildo.
You're being... It's regardless of the dildo.
Well, you're still dildoing somebody. The muscle memory is still the same. Unless you radically change your dildo technique between girlfriends.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that, you're taken back to a time and a place which was your ex-girlfriend, except it's with your current
with
girlfriend.
Your new one.
And, that's an unspoken thing that's happening as you plow this dildo.
Well, that's a thing that happens sometimes. Sometimes people fantasize about their ex-girlfriends.
Yeah.
That shit happens.
Don't, like, that's what I'm saying. Don't bring it. Don't bring it, like...
Don't invite it into the bedroom.
Exactly, don't invite it into the bedroom.
Well, I don't understand why it would be an issue for you as the dildo...
Master.
Dildoer.
The dildo master.
The dildoer.
The diddler.
Exactly. If you're the diddler as opposed to the diddly, why is it an issue? It's not, I more think that, this, how do you even address it? You go, hey,
things.
so I'm just going to reach over into this cupboard beside the bed now and grab out the sex toy, which I happen to have, which happens to be a 10-inch black fucking dildo.
Well, that's the thing. You bring it out. What's this? Well, it's a dildo.
Why have you got it? Where's it been?
Why have you got it?
That's the first thing I'll be asking.
The first question is this new?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this a brand spanker or what?
I mean, what are they going to say? Obviously,
and you're going to go, well, it's not brand new.
It's not in its package, but it is made of plastic, which is just built to last. They're pretty durable.
Look,
we're not going to wear it out. Don't worry.
And also, it's totally washable. So, don't worry about any...
well, can you wash it, please, at least? Because there's shit on the end.
But I just feel like, it's just a complicit... Like, you guys are both going, this is a thing that you did with your last partner.
Okay. Well, I think we're all in agreement here, right? Nobody's going to reuse their sex toys with their next partner.
I think that people do it all the time.
I think that people that allow themselves to be fucked with old sex toys, need to take a good hard look at themselves.
Their standards.
To be frank.
Their sex toy standards have dropped.
Exactly.
Have just fallen way off.
Exactly.
Just inviting any old sex toy into the bed with them.
Exactly. And, as an aside to that, perhaps to all you diddlers out there, you should fucking start investing in like bamboo bloody dildos. Okay?
Oh my god! This is just destroy a vagina with splinters of bamboo.
No, I'm sure
just
they can
savage a vagina.
No, they'll
savage a vagina with all these splinters that are lacerating it.
No, just put a seed in there and let it grow. It grows very quickly. No, look, you would varnish it, wouldn't you? It'd be a solid thing. It wouldn't be splinters. Come on, guy, get with the game.
Laminated. Exactly. Laminated bamboo dildo.
Exactly.
But you feel amazing. Feel like that's a bit rigid.
Okay. But there can be a more environmentally conscientious option somewhere.
We called it here.
There absolutely must be.
There must. Well, I don't know if there is.
No, there are.
The recyclable dildo.
Yeah, no.
The biodegradable dildo.
The biodegradable dildo.
Biodegradable dildo.
Yes.
Do they exist?
Of course they do.
Do they exist?
Absolutely. There is a huge market out there for biodegradable dildos.
Biodildo.
I guarantee it. You don't need to Google it this very second.
I'm just gonna look that up.
Biodegradable dildo.
Biodegradable.
You heard it here first, people. This is quality broadcasting.
Also, in Google search, that did not come up. Like
you spelled bio and degradable as two words.
Yeah, but like it spelled like a bunch of other options. Finally, biodegradable dildos.
Yep, from 2013. That post's from
the first ever biodegradable vibrator.
2016.
I
don't know if you could call a fucking battery biodegradable, frankly.
Green dildos for all.
Yep. I told you, mate.
That's in 2009.
Yep.
Well, that just says
sustainable wood paddles.
Yeah, well, of course they're going to be sustainable.
Yeah.
All right, well, so we've solved that. We're not going to make $1 million off that one.
No.
Bio condoms. Feel like there's a bit of a risk right there in there.
Well,
that they biodegrade as you're using them a little too much. So any other feedback from the masses? Well,
that was it. Apart from the other one that I did get some feedback on, which I can't quite remember, but I will find it for next week.
Okay,
absolutely.
What else you got?
Oh, am I the star of the show, am I? Fucking Harley Neville.
Well,
head host. The bloody Harley Neville, the fucking anchorman. Here we go. I've got an audition tomorrow.
Oh, good for you. And how was it? I hope it was fucking good because it's useless now, isn't it? Fuck's sake, man, you're amateur. But no! No! Don't shut me up. This is the second time that he doesn't give a fuck. For fuck's sake. Now, let's not take a fucking minute. Let's go again! And let's not have you fucking walking in. You're unbelievable, man. You're unfucking believable. Number of times you're strolling and fucking around in the background. That's what that is, man. I'm telling you. I want to fucking kick your fucking ass. You don't shut up for a second, all right?
It's for an English. It's for a large New Zealand corporation that I can't say yet, but I'm playing an English person. And I've got to put on the accent. It's tomorrow morning, and I only found out like this afternoon. But the thing is, here's what they gave me, right? There's no dialogue, but they want it in an English accent.
So that's a classic.
That's a classic, right? Because they were like, yeah, English accent. So I was like, cool. And I got the script out, and I read all the way through the script. My character literally does not utter a word in an English accent.
It's a bit of a problem because obviously they're going to get you to improv
Exactly.
and freestyle a little
Exactly.
bit on the day and just be like, look, we don't actually have a specific script for this guy.
I know.
We just want you to just say some stuff.
In an English accent.
You know,
accent.
No, actually, I'm English.
My plan is simply to enunciate a little more. Speak like Frodo from the gay Hobbit parody.
Are you going to watch a movie? Classic Austin Powers stuff right there. And that's what you're going to sound like.
Yeah, well, and that is an issue because it is, I'm absolutely going to be just Austin Powers.
Honestly, baby. Groovy.
Yeah, well, like, I'm not so bad at imitating it.
Is it what?
If I'm imitating
You what?
one, it's fine.
Yeah.
I was watching a movie tonight with an English accent in it, and I mimicked along a little bit, and that's okay. But when you're asking me to just make up some shit, but do it in a British accent, and it's like, look, guys, you know how I put British RP on my actor's portfolio? That's a lie.
Well, do you know how you lie about everything on your portfolio?
Yeah.
And the
Me
skills that
specifically.
you possess? Yeah.
Well, I my ones are reasonably honest, but a slight exaggeration. I might be fluent in Spanish.
Slight exaggeration. Master of dialects. Slight exaggeration.
Expert snowboarder and skateboarder.
Tony Hawk pro skater.
Moderate, medium ability rollerblader. It's all there. Anyway, the accent thing. So I can't actually really do an accent, particularly like I can if you give me the dialogue and say, okay, Harley, we need you in a week to, say these lines on camera with an English accent.
And
okay,
you
fine.
hire a coach that you Skype.
Exactly.
And
which
pay $150 to.
This is what I do when I have big auditions.
To help you with this like 3 sentences that
Yes.
you're... Yeah.
That's I've done that. I've done that a few times. How about... that was one of the random dialects I had to learn one time and did not well enough to get the role.
Yeah. But spent $150 on.
But did spend $150 on that. Anyway, the point is what?
Well, the point is you've got that audition.
I'm sure there was somewhere else we were just going somewhere else, but that's fine.
It's
got
fine.
the audition.
Just end with a fucking shart. Just shart out the end of that conversation.
Yeah, well, look, yeah, so I've got an audition, so that's good, and if I get it, 6 Jesus. Not bad. However, it does somewhat conflict with another role I have coming up, so if I don't get it, it's really not the end of the world. It's going to save me a lot of drama.
Right. Anything else going on in your life you want to talk about?
Well,
anything in particular, like a monumental
well, I guess
life?
I could debut a new poem for everybody. You'll be happy with that, wouldn't you, guys?
Yeah, I guess we better go with that.
So,
Talk about heart sinking. My heart sinks anytime Harley's got an audition, because then I've got to chop up the podcast and put in the fucking Christian Bale, which takes like ages. Even though it's like a simple, small thing, it like exponentially increases the amount of fuck around I have to do with this podcast.
bullshit. You press B for blade, right? You go to the time code, which you just wrote down. You B for blade that little gap, slip in, drag in the other thing, close up the gap, and render it and export it.
Yep, that is what I have to do.
It takes that is not the hardest of the editing that you do. An editor of your caliber can do that in his fucking sleep.
Yeah, it's not a matter
You
of...
can do that with your butt.
It's time consuming. It's time consuming. Maybe a little thing, but it's time consuming. The worst ones, obviously, is when I have to play a clip.
Yeah.
Like that fucking Anakin one.
Because you got to go find it.
I got to go find it, and then I've got to audio hijack it, and then I've got to put it into the thing, but then I've got to kind of try and get the levels up to be relatively close to what they are for the rest of the podcast, and then I've got to fade it in and out, and it just spirals out of control, man. Well, I mean, that last podcast took a shit ton of time for me to get up, and there was not that much extra bits in there. But anyway, let's go with this poem.
To that yet. I haven't listened to last week's one yet in its entirety.
Let's go with this bloody poem.
Well, okay.
Gonna give any context to this?
Well,
Gonna just let it sit there?
I think it speaks for itself.
Okay.
I think it speaks for itself. But do stick around after the poem, listeners, because I do want to elaborate on something.
Because he will still be alive. He will not have committed suicide. He will be still with us.
So, a sip of this red wine here. She's left me. 5 times we orbited the sun. Fun as you can imagine. Gradually greying in our Greyland mansion. I'm just grateful. Glad I was honest enough to acknowledge my luck. I had the sapience to see every second was sacred, so I savoured every sensation. I just wish she could have loved me as much as I loved her. She was cute and smart. If God gave me all the parts and asked me to build my dream woman, I would have built her. I met her through her sister, who I'd been hitting on. She was fresh from Colombia, newly single, not looking for a man, but man, when I saw her at the door, I forgot about her sister in an instant. I was infatuated, mate. It's a cliche, but my perception of time slowed to a grind. It was the longest and loveliest moment of my life. Desire to the fore, I fought for 4 months with fervour, further in my advance into her heart. I convinced her, though. I said, "Quiero ser tu novio," and she reluctantly agreed to let me put her pussy in prison, as she described it. I'll tell you something my granddad told me. He said, love's not about sex. It's about experiences shared, and if you love someone and you want them to love you back, be sure to take them on a little adventure every single day. So we adventured around the globe, to the park, the backyard, the supermarket. It didn't matter. We experienced premieres, film sets, festivals, fig farms, caves, waves, packs of alpacas, fears, tears, nightmares, art, poetry, and farts. But it wasn't enough. Her heart longed for freedom. It's nothing mystic, nothing pseudo-scientific. She spent her 20s in relationships. It's been 5 years. Now she's sick of my shit. The equator beckons. Fate whispers, "Be gone." It's not what I want, and it breaks my heart. But her adventure's not over yet. I'm just not in this part. That's my poem.
Slow clap.
Worthy of a slow clap.
Slow clap. That's pretty good. So what's that? Is that fictional or what?
Well, look, I can't really talk about it entirely properly yet because that is not she broke up with me 7 days ago today.
Yeah.
So today is my 1 week anniversary
Of being single. Of being broken up
of
with.
being by myself.
Yeah.
In a relationship with myself.
Yeah.
Yep. I haven't gone Facebook official yet, so this conversation is not actually me coming out publicly.
It's just between you and 150 people.
Well, a hundy, the Hardy hundy. We haven't upgraded to the nifty to the 5150 just yet.
Well, it all depends on the episode, to be honest.
Right.
Because definitely some are cracking 150.
Well, we might be able to start referring to them as the 5150 soon.
But
Would you guys like that?
It's probably a little bit premature, though. So, yeah.
All right,
so just between you and 100 people.
So it's just between you, me, and 100 of my dearest friends, the listeners. And that's because I have to, really. I feel like I can't sit here making dick and fart jokes when my heart simply isn't in it. You know, I'm not. It's not the zone I'm in at the moment. And I mean, at the end of the day, this is a filmmaking podcast.
It's a podcast about our lives.
And so, you know, this is a part of my life that I've sort of got to mention to the listeners. But it is not Facebook official yet. I'm not, so I can't really talk about it properly just yet.
He's working on it.
Exactly, I'm
He's
working on
it.
Now, you might be wondering, though, well, why can't he talk about it properly yet if she broke up with him a week ago? Why can't he talk about it properly yet? Well, the long answer...
Okay.
is
I thought you were going to go short answer, but you decided long, so that's good. Explanation. Okay.
The long answer is I still have hope because she might still be coming to New Zealand in only 2 short months. Not to be with me, but to live in Queenstown on the other side of the country from me. So my hope is to intercept her at the Auckland airport.
Kidnapping. I get it.
Hold her in my arms.
Hostage.
Look her in the eyes and watch her dissolve. The short answer is I'm in denial.
Right.
So, holding off on going public just yet. I mean, I am, you know, holding on to that. I'm legit holding on to that hope of the intercept. That's sort of my best bet at the moment.
Well, you look.
Now, not actually at the airport. You know, like, well, she is going to see me.
You'll have a coffee.
She's scheduled me in.
You'll have a pencil and a coffee there. You've negotiated a coffee.
She has agreed to meet me in a public place.
With a lot of people around.
With a lot of people around.
Yeah.
So don't you listeners go posting anything on my wall like, hey, sorry to hear
that, bro.
Or like, hey, do you want to go on a date with me? You know, or anything like that.
No, he doesn't want to go on a date.
Exactly. The answer's fucking no. Jason Coombs.
He's
for the final time.
He's taken. Sorry, Liam Hegarty, but he's taken. Right this very second.
So don't...
he's locked himself into an exclusive deal with himself.
Exactly. And so what I'm saying is this news is news just for you guys. This is the bonus of being part of the Hardy Hundy. And you know, hey, look, I'll be honest, I appreciate having someone to talk to, so thanks for listening, guys.
Cheers to that. So what's the, I guess, what now for Harley Neville if he doesn't, if this intercept were to fail?
Well, look, if the intercept were to fail, you know, heaven forbid, but if my intercept plan were to fail, you know, I mean, I guess at least we can bring the Tinder files back.
That's right, we can.
I mean, I've been in a relationship the entire time that Tinder's existed, so it's a whole other frontier. To be honest, like having listened to all of your Tinder files,
yeah,
and you've had some very good luck. You've got 2 long-term girlfriends out of the Tinder files.
Yeah, boy.
So you're the Tinder master, is what I'm going to have to start referring to you
I've
as.
bagged some babes out of Tinder.
Just don't brag. You don't brag too much.
Well, you just said I was the master.
Well,
so.
you just don't want to go get yourself in trouble. Is all I'm saying. I'm just saying, just don't say anything that you will regret later. And then, you're having an argument later with your girlfriend, and then she just plays that back.
Right.
It's just, and you just go, I bag
some babes
from Tinder.
Yeah.
She can just play that. She's gonna make it her ringtone.
Well, she's babe number one. She's the biggest babe of them all.
Oh, that's better, I guess.
Well, it is. Oh, well, look.
Hey, don't worry about it. You're babe number one.
Look.
This guy.
Well, this is the thing, though. Like, I do have this sort of conversation sometimes. Like, you've won. If you're in a relationship with someone, you've beat everyone else up until that moment. Now, maybe you'll lose later on.
Absolutely.
To someone else.
It happens.
Sometimes you'll lose, crushingly in 5 years. You'll lose big time.
Maybe, maybe it'll take that long.
Maybe it'll be 6 months. Maybe it'll be a couple of weeks. But one day you're going to lose. And someone else will take the championship. But right now, you are the heavyweight relationship champion of the world with that person.
Yeah.
You've done it.
So
you got nothing to fear. You're top of the mountain.
Well, stop saying you've, because talk about yourself. Because I'm fucking sitting here broken and a fucking alone. Stop saying you've cracked it, mate. You've cracked the mountain. I know you're not talking about me, but you just stop using your and say I, because you're in a relationship and I'm not.
You the person.
You the subject. I get it, but just go with I've. Because I'm sitting here, I'm certainly not the king,
the relationship champion of the world right now. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, from my perspective, Angie's a lovely girl. Had some good laughs with her over those years. She's a cool person. I think that you guys are a good match in many respects. I respect your commitment to the relationship. I respect anyone that's been out with someone for that length of time, but I think that in that amount of time, a lot of people really shit the bed with their relationships. It really goes downhill, and they're just there. They're just going through the motions. They're like, there's all these things I'm not actually really happy with, but we're in it.
Where are you going with this?
We're in it. We're just going to do it.
If we could get there quicker, that'd be good.
We're going to suffer through all this because, I don't know, just the idea of being single is too much. But I don't ever think that you guys were like that.
No, well, I don't really think that either.
I think that you guys had a good run, a hell of a run, as I said in my text to you. A hell of a bloody run.
And his reassuring text that he sent to me last night when I said, when I broke the news to him last night via text and suggested we do a podcast. This was after poetry. I was feeling emotional and alone. And
I said, no time, mate.
And he was like, nah, mate, can't do it. And then I was like... And I was like, well, I guess I'll just stick to my plan of cutting my fucking wrists.
There you go.
You'll see me in the fucking bath.
I guess I'll just stick to my plan of throwing myself off the top of this building that I'm currently atop.
Good friend.
Well, look, I definitely feel some guilt if that was the end result.
Well, lucky you then.
But luckily we're here. We made it. We just had to postpone it a day. But the reason that I could not do that is because we have some very pressing deadlines. So I'm basically working 24 hours, 24/7 before I head away to Dunedin next week. And I'm trying to get a new version of Older ready for our composer. And kind of this new version of Older is probably going to go to some producers and some bigwigs and some higher-ups and maybe even some festival submissions.
Well, I know one festival that will take a good look at it pre...
a good long look.
Yeah, even though it's not the final cut necessarily.
Yep.
So, got it all hooked up, mate. All jacked up.
And so I sort of putting off everything to try and get that done because then I'm sort of going away, and then I'm not going to have too much time to work on Older after that for quite a long time again.
Yeah, well,
and we should. I think
we can break the news to the listeners without. I feel like we really shouldn't do any specifics of just nothing specific, basically.
Well, the two things that I was going to say,
okay, are both very specific.
Kind of, they're vague, right?
Okay, well, look, here's
three things.
Don't say anything because here's the situation. At the end of the day,
it's not locked in.
We have not signed anything, and the oldest mistake made in show business is fucking bragging about the fish you caught when you're only fucking threading your hook. So let's we just got to be vague and say we have an opportunity upcoming without getting too specific. But we do have a very exciting opportunity that is looking increasingly likely to come through.
But that's why I couldn't do the podcast, because I was working until approximately 5 a.m. on editing Older.
So we are going to tell the listeners about this thing, right?
Yeah.
And so Older, right? You're doing it with more fervor now because
this new
you want to try and smash it out before this new project takes up all your time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when you say smash it out, you mean smash it out as good you can, but there'll still be another edit.
There'll probably
after
still
this
be.
one.
Oh, there'll still be a relook for sure. There'll still be another edit.
Be quite good because we'll be able to leave it to sit for a few months.
Let it percolate. Let it percolate while we work on this new project. So what do you think we can say about this new project?
Look, here's what I will outline, and then we can go into some deets, I reckon. Well, just further explanation. We potentially we have a financial backer, a reliable and established financial backer that is creating a lot of web content already.
Yep.
And a
mysterious benefactor.
They are talking about, and we've had more than one meeting about it, and it's all looking very promising. Everything's lining up nicely, and they're talking about giving us funding to shoot a web series.
Yes.
Now, the web series is a concept of theirs, but written by us, or written by Guy. Written by our team, but it's their concept. And so we need to write it around what they want, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, how many more details did you want to give than that?
Well, I was going to just mention the genre.
Okay, well, I think that's probably okay.
And so it's in the horror genre. And can we say in what style? That was the only other piece of info I was going to say.
Well, maybe for the Hardy Hundy.
For the Hardy Hundy, I mean...
Maybe just for the Hardy Hundy.
For those...
Just because, we want to make it worthwhile listening to this fucking show, and if it's like, they might as well just subscribe to my Facebook otherwise, right? So they've got to tune in here to get the real scoop,
Yeah, so it's a horror series in the vein of found footage.
Yes.
Found footage style. So if you found footage when you think found footage... Cloverfield.
Don't think about that naughty tape of your mum's that you found.
Don't think about that naughty tape of your flatmate that you found.
Do you have a naughty tape of me, Guy?
I certainly hope not.
I certainly hope not too.
But I just feel that's more likely.
Well,
then you're going to dig up your old mum's VHS fucking tape that she shot with your dad like 20 years ago.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's what I'm basing this off was one of your ex-girlfriends, the one who became a lesbian stripper immediately after dating you.
Yes.
I don't remember that one.
No.
I went to her... We went to her house one time. I don't know if you were there or not. And she played a VHS. We were like, probably not 18-ish.
Yeah.
And she got a VHS tape out, and it was of her mum. And her parents' sex tape.
Yeah, you know what?
And they played it. She played a little bit of it, and they were like on the couch.
I do remember that.
But it was like she quickly turned it off and didn't actually show us really anything.
Yeah.
But it was still kind of fucked that she would even be, going anywhere near that tape.
Yeah. And obviously she'd watched it in full.
Well, presumably she at least knew. Well, I mean, she must have watched a bit, right?
Oh, I'm sure she watched it all.
But that is weird as well because it was kind of in the lounge, like it was kind of just amongst the other VHS tapes.
Well, what's the best place to hide something?
Not in plain sight. Not when it's pornography, guy. Not when it's you having sex.
Best place of where you
don't put it here's an idea. Don't put it next to the VCR. When you've got two kids as well.
Here's an idea. Don't
two teenage kids.
Don't leave it in the VCR and label it Simpsons reruns.
No, bad idea.
Yeah, well, look, everything turned out great for her, and she became a model member of society. And I'm sure that these two things, like constantly watching her parents' sex tape, had zero effect on her, Harley.
Well, sensing some sarcasm.
Absolutely zero effect. But anyway, so found footage, not like your parents' old VHS sex tape, but
Harley.
more like the Blair Witch Project. More like Cloverfield, more like Paranormal Activity.
Well, stop naming shit movies and say Wreck, the Spanish pseudo-zombie sort of proto-zombie
Wreck is the best one.
Absolutely,
for sure.
That's the best one I've seen.
And if you don't like reading Spanish...
Oh, and I better also give a wee shout-out to Found Footage 3D, which I saw at Screamfest last year.
Unfortunately, I've looked high and low for. No one can see it at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, really? I'll ask the guy.
I think it's doing the festival round still, but like
so
very successfully. Yeah. So
well, I saw it at Screamfest, and it was really a pretty damn good found footage film, and it kind of answered all those annoying questions. Because I've got a skeptic's mind, man. I can't be like, if they're just magically recording for no reason, I'm like, well, fuck off. You're still holding the camera. There's a fucking monster chasing you. You're going to be like battling for your life, not worried, not holding a camera pointing at your face.
Well, camera is a good weapon.
Well, is it?
Yeah, but it's better than nothing.
Well, yeah, okay.
I'd happily hit someone over the head with a camera.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've been tempted. I'm sure I've tempted you on a number of occasions. Yeah, sure, but you're not like pointing at your face and still talking and shit like that, when like shit's going down, really.
Not really. I mean,
but
I guess
in Found Footage 3D, it's pretty well explained, and it's good, and it's novel, and it sort of addresses all the annoying things that you that normally would bother me.
We're probably not going to address those, the annoying things.
No, well, yeah, I think his budget's a little bit bigger than ours.
I can't imagine us doing that.
Stephen D. Gennaro is the director's name.
But anyway, so this opportunity has come up. Look, it could all fall to pieces. Nothing is set in stone, but at this stage, looking very promising is all we can say. But I'll also say that is what is going to tie us up for the next 3 or 4 months.
Absolutely, yeah. It's gonna be a lot of work, and it's going to be. It's got a deadline of late this year.
Yeah.
Well, the
last quarter
of this year. And so it's like, well, that's actually pretty fucking soon, considering it's not been written.
Considering it literally does not exist in any form right now. That's quite soon.
It's basically a short paragraph is the
right
only
now it's
explanation.
A paragraph.
It's a concept. It's a short concept.
It is a concept.
No, nothing. No characters, nothing. Just a short concept. And that needs to be rewritten, and refined, and then all the pre-production and organising and all that stuff needs to be done, and it needs to be shot, and then it needs to still have time to be edited, before its deadline. So it's not like an insurmountable task, but it's like we kind of got to get onto it.
There's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do, exactly. It's going to be quite an elaborate
it's going to be the equivalent of shooting a feature film, basically.
You think?
Like a sort of a quick turnaround feature film. I reckon is what it'll be like. But I'm very excited because, I've been getting a bit low on older. Just because it's never ending. It's never ending, and it's still never going to end. That's the problem, is like the thing about finishing a film when you have no resources or money is that every problem is your problem. There's no way to give it to someone else, really. There's no way for it to be solved without you doing a shit ton of work, basically. So you just see all these little problems stacking up one on top of the other, which are just inherent in completing a film. that's on your shoulders to solve or to fix or to work out. And sometimes you're just sort of like, man, I want to get to the bit past the problems, but I don't want to work out all these problems. There's too many problems. I'm sick of all these problems. And that's on multiple levels. That's from an editing side. That's simply from a post side in terms of the other things you do. And it all kind of stacks up and weighs very heavily. And also then there's this whole thing of like, well, if you shoot a film and it takes you a year to do, which was the original intention of Older, it was like, this is a project between other bigger projects. Now, if your film takes a year, that's not a huge loss if it just kind of comes out and no one cares, or it doesn't come out that great, or one of the million things that can happen with films. It doesn't, get into the best festivals. It doesn't get into, it doesn't get a good distributor, blah, blah, blah. Like, all of these things, you go, well, I gave it a I really busted my ass for a year. And, chalk it up to experience. It'll make me a better person, it'll make me a better storyteller, it'll make me a better everything. But when you start creeping up to 4 years and beyond, one, it's completely defeating my goal, which was to not make a movie that took 5 years to make, which our first one did. And two, it's like, well, now the stakes are just getting exponentially higher for your own personal grief and loss if it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to. Because, it's taken 4 or 5 years to do this follow-up feature film, and I think it will turn out good and hopefully, open up a lot of doors, etc., etc. But let's just take the other route that it doesn't. Then suddenly you've just your sort of 20s to this other film, you gave your 30s to this other film that no one gives a shit about. And, that's a lot of time. 5 years is a real long time to do anything for it to not work out very grandly. There's not that many things that you do for 5 years, if you think about your day-to-day life. So if you tackle a 5-year project, which really also involves a lot of sacrifice, so it's like, okay, so I can't, in that 5 years, because I'm doing this giant project, I will have a very minimal life, I will have very minimal money, I will have very minimal fun outside of the filmmaking process. I will have the least of all these things. I'll probably compromise a lot of relationships. I may lose a few friendships along the way. And all of this for what? All of this for something that no one cares about? Well, that's not a great trade. And so, I guess that is something that obviously, I'm not thinking that the film is going to be bad or anything like that, but I just feel like, it's one thing to go through this whole 5-year thing and experience that once. It's another thing to now make it 10 years and do it all again. So, it's been weighing heavily on me, and it's nice to, but there's also...
All right. But this is a reflection of your negative outlook on
not
life,
at all.
though.
No, not at all.
It is, and I can point it out very easily. You look at Zombie Holocaust by extension of what you're saying. You're saying that Zombie Holocaust came out, it took 5 years, it came out, and nobody gave a shit.
Yes.
Which is a load of shit. Like, it's available internationally. Like, it's as successful as you can hope for a low budget feature film shot in Dunedin. It's doing great, but you don't see it like that. You go, like it's literally showing on Showtime right now. Millions of people have seen it. All the big AMC, Showtime, all of those things. But what's that other one? There's heaps of them, and it's all on there, right? And it's available internationally, and it's been well received. It's got a shitty rating on IMDb because people who are rating it on IMDb are pirates from who are watching the shit version of it, the international version of it, and it's still like being seen, and people are still watching it and enjoying it, and like, people are still buying it. I've had people messaging me, sending me pictures of them, of the DVDs they've bought and stuff.
Yeah, but it's all about tangible outcomes.
Yeah, and that's been a massive, massive step in the right direction for us. Like, if you took out Zombie Holocaust from our list of accolades, well, there's very little left. You know, Zombie Holocaust is is the crowning glory, fucking crowning jewel in our crown, whatever the fuck that saying is. And then, and you know, it's never going to be this. Necessary. It's very unlikely that your first film is going to be this cult smash hit, which takes off and makes you lots of money, and everyone thinks what a great fucking cinema auteur you are. Mm-hmm. It's very unlikely to happen. Really, what's going to happen is you're going to make a project, it's going to do okay, and then the next one's going to do slightly better, and the next one going to do slightly better, and eventually you climb the steps. And for your first step, I reckon that I Survived a Zombie Holocaust is fucking a resounding success.
Well, I mean, I'll say two things to that.
Undermarketed. Absolutely. I'm not saying there wasn't problems with it. I'm not saying that it couldn't have been seen by more people. But overall, given the circumstances, given the budget, given the difficulties, a resounding success.
But for me, again, I go back to tangible outcomes. Is I was a guy struggling away to make shit with my mates before it,
and you still are.
And I am exactly the same after it, but also in a worse position in some people's eyes.
No, because the people that you're working with now, the people that you were not in anybody's eyes before I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. So so those people, there's nobody that was like, hey, you know who I'm keeping an eye on? There's nobody down the commission that was like, the dude that directed those gay Hobbit parodies.
But unproven talent is still potential talent versus someone who has been deemed not talented enough.
There's no mighty power deeming you not talented enough.
I 100% disagree because I
know, because you're a conspiracy theorist.
Well, no, I mean, yes, I am, but you can just point to the only thing you can do is gauge yourself against your contemporaries, right? Mm-hmm. That's all you can do. That's the only way to assess your career is go, how are other people doing that had the same opportunity as me? How's their career doing and what are they doing now as a result? And if you gauge my contemporaries, they are all uniformly doing much better. And I don't say that in a smart, disparaging way. I say that as a complete truth, and you can point to every single one of them and how they are and where they are, and it's all in a better place. So
that is such you actually literally being Donald Trump for a second there. I can't. You just spoke, but you didn't actually talk about anything.
Well, I can't. There's no point in me just sitting here. I mean, we can do it off here. I can list all the things that other people are doing that had the same opportunities as me, that were in that same class, that class of making those films at that time, and where they're at and what they're doing now versus what I'm doing now. I can definitely do that. But there's also the other issue, which is that you didn't have to do that film for 5 years. I mean, you did. I'm not saying you didn't make huge sacrifices yourself, because you certainly did. You had to have that fucking hairdo for years for us to do pickups.
I'd be a lot more worried about the money and the time spent promoting it than the haircut.
But there's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. You did make huge sacrifices, but you did not live that sort of 24/7.
I know, that's the point. You've been driven insane by dealing with this 24/7 thing, and you've turned into a fucking lunatic who thinks that there's a vast conspiracy against you.
No,
in reality,
I don't think there's any conspiracy.
All it is nobody gives a shit, because you got to show them. You got to show them the next thing. And so it's okay. So good start. On to the next thing. Where is it? Well, it's been 5 years. It hasn't come out.
I don't think there's any conspiracy at all, in the sense that it's no. Not a good start. A start, yes. A better than nothing start, absolutely. But not a good start. Look at your contemporaries. Definitely not a good start.
Well, who gives it? Firstly, that's 100% tall poppy bullshit. Look at your contemporaries. What are you talking about? We don't. It's irrelevant. What I'm looking at is, let's look at the people we work with now versus the people we work with before Zombie Holocaust came out, and that really has elevated us within the ranks of Auckland filmmakers as people that can known to put out stuff that actually gets released, actually gets international distribution, is finished to a high quality, all that stuff. And so as a result, the caliber of people we're working with is only increasing, and we're traveling an increasingly sophisticated in elite circles, but it's a slow process, and that's just the way it is. And it's like people aren't going to know, and and then you combine that with your lack of tangible good networking, and it's like, okay, well that's your issue. Some people move and shake in the right circles, and some people just make high quality content, but actually you can't, one or the other doesn't work. And if you had to bet on either one, bet on moving in the right circles before you bet on before you bet on high quality content. And so it's like it's a failure on your behalf to network efficiently, not a failure of them to lift you from the mud.
No, I'm not saying it's a failure of them to lift me from the mud. I'm saying it's a failure of me to make a film good enough to have people want to make more movies with you.
Again, I disagree. I think you made a film that is absolutely good enough. I think the issue here is that it was undermarketed, so nobody heard about it. Or they heard about it and then it had the wrong title. I think the wrong title was a major issue for scaring off major mainstream audiences. It's I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, and it's like, okay, we at the time thought it was a great idea to do this kind of B horror thing, but by the time it actually came out, it wasn't such a great idea anymore. And probably the title and the marketing overall were the biggest areas that let it down, not the actual film itself, which I think is good and people really enjoy, and is people that bother to watch it do tend to like it in my experience, but it's not, it's just undermarketed, and that's not really your fault or my fault or anybody's fault. It's the fault of a number of different things, and a big one of them is budget. But
that, like I said, that just that 5-year grind is, didn't
made you insane.
You didn't live that 5-year grind, so you can't really
don't belittle my experience. It was difficult for me, but in different ways than you. You had to sit there every day grinding away. I get it. You had lots of hard work to do. Yeah. Meanwhile, I had to get fat, fucking bald, and older, and watch the project that I thought was going to open fucking all the doors for me. I had to just sit there watching it date for 5 years, and I had to have people asking me, "Hey, how's the movie going?" Fuck, it'll be ready when it's ready. Fuck off, cunt. And then like,
but I'm not. There's not.
And then at the end of it all, I had to stand behind a product saying as if it was this brand new thing which I had just released, when in reality it represented me as a performer like 5 years prior. So now I'm not saying that I ground as much as you, but I'm saying that my experience of it was different to you, but it was still negative.
Sure. But that's what I'm saying is, like, doing 5 years of something that is negative is not that positive.
I agree.
So when you come to go, well, now double that, you do need tangible outcomes. And I think
But you're ignoring the tangible outcomes.
No, I'm saying that the outcome...
Tangible outcome. We're filming with talented, the cast and crew of Older would not have been interested if we didn't have Zombie Holocaust on the horizon when we shot it.
Yeah. I guess Absolutely. What I'm saying is tangible outcomes that are more so than the ones, like, I'm not saying that it hasn't opened doors and given us good opportunities, but the work versus reward has not probably evened out.
Well, no, it hasn't. But luckily, you're not in this for the rewards, right? You're in this to create art.
You're not,
and you want those accolades and all that stuff, and you need some financial fucking...
Yeah, you need enough of those things to propel you forward.
Yeah.
So it's not hard graft.
We get that. We all get that. But at the end of the day, it's that you're not seeing it because your head's down and your tail's up, and you're grinding away in this very corner that we're recording the podcast in, fucking 18 hours a day or whatever fucking ridiculous hours you keep, and you're not the one who's on the front line with the public seeing that, oh, actually people are paying attention, oh, actually, like, this is pretty cool, like, I see all the shit online, I see the comments, I see the people, I see the new places that it's available because I'm sharing them all online, and so you're basically, what I'm saying is, you're out of touch with reality. You are trapped in a maelstrom of editing and grind, and you're out of touch with the fact that our trajectory is clearly steeply on the incline, going up.
Well,
it's inclining upwards. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
incline is steep on our trajectory, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah.
It's particularly in recent times. You know, like even 2 years ago versus now, I'm feeling way more established and comfortable and believing in us. And as a result of as a result of this, we now have potentially funding for a season coming up for the first time. And these people approached us. We didn't approach them. So we didn't submit for something. These people approached us looking to fund us to create content, right? That in itself is a prime example of, you know, that wouldn't have happened if I Survived a Zombie Holocaust wasn't out. You know, that's a tangible result right there. The tangible result is we, you know, touch wood, all going well, have funding to shoot a season. Tangible result. And there's lots of them. $64 a week we're getting from, a month we're getting from Patreon now, US. Thank you to all our new patrons. Blair Martin, you fucking legend.
Thank you.
Eric, you are the man.
Eric, appreciate that.
Eric might be his second name. Sorry, mate. But I don't have it in front of me at the moment. But, you know, thank you so much to you. We got 2 new ones this week, Blair and you know, Eric.
Okay, that's cool. But let me pitch you this. Would you rather be getting $62 a week Patreon? Or
64 a month.
64, sorry.
A month.
Sorry, a month. Or would you prefer to be directing a movie with Daniel Radcliffe in it?
Okay. But though that's a silly comparison, isn't it? Because you
that's one of my contemporaries.
Okay.
That's what he's doing. That's his next project after his last project.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
exactly what he's doing.
But when you say your contemporary, you mean the guy who was more established than you before this competition started?
No, the same.
The guy who had done a TV show, right?
No. He's doing something else even more massive.
No,
I'm not talking about him.
Before Escalator, I mean.
Yeah. I'm not talking about him.
Okay. Well, I don't really know who it is, but it really doesn't matter because I really think that it's just so silly to attempt to compare yourself to what other people are doing. This guy, whoever he is, may or may not have known the right people, may or may not have worked even harder than you. You know, that's a possibility. It's a possibility. Sure. He sat there and he worked twice as hard as you do.
It's not. You know, you couldn't work twice as hard. You'd be dead. Well, you could work harder.
You know, you're a healthy guy.
You're
a healthy specimen, mate. You go to the gym.
I do go to the gym.
It. You spend your money on gym stuff. You go to wrestling. You do still have, spare time. Maybe this guy wasn't doing any of that stuff. Who knows?
Just drinking energy drinks
and sitting in front of the computer.
And
so we're
movies.
Speculating, and we don't know what else he has done to get there. He might be sucking the big dicks.
Well, that's true.
He might be sucking the big ones. We don't know. I just think it's silly to compare yourself to your contemporaries. So,
well, I'm not suggesting
directly.
But there's the thing is, like, I'm not suggesting, like, oh man, I want to be doing Harry Potter. I should be doing Harry Potter like him. I'm more saying, like, oh man, I would like to be doing another funded feature film.
Don't you be disrespecting our fucking Patreon supporters.
I didn't disrespect them. I said, which would you rather?
Yeah, which would you rather? 64 shitty dollars from the fucking internet?
Or direct a movie with Daniel Radcliffe
from those cockheads out there that work for us, essentially.
You're putting
working each month and giving us a share.
You're putting words in my mouth. You're putting words in my mouth there. I'm just saying, Daniel Radcliffe movie, $62 a month Patreon.
$64.
$64 a month Patreon. Daniel Radcliffe movie.
Okay.
I'm just
no. But it's a silly comparison. It's like it doesn't make any sense. He's probably getting. Oh, look, it doesn't even make sense. It just really doesn't make any sense.
He's probably getting $0 from Patreon.
So it's an
unfair comparison.
It's an unfair comparison because we don't know how and why this guy, who is supposedly your contemporary. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many gay Hobbit videos he's responsible for, but
none. So I'm up on him in that regard.
And so
I'm way ahead of him on that.
I just feel like it's a bit of a silly comparison.
No, because
because we're okay. Let's not because as if you would choose $64 a month from Patreon. You wouldn't say that. You would say okay. So here's your two choices: directing a Daniel Radcliffe movie, or you are responsible for a movie which has got international distribution and done all that stuff and blah blah blah.
He's done all that as well.
And you okay, that's fine. You have a short film which has gone all around and done cinema stuff and done and now has a sales agent and won best short film at a night of horror in Sydney. And now you have funding people approaching you to come up and say, here's X amount of dollars.
So does he, fucking Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, okay. But the point is, you can't compare $64 a month is not the sum of your achievements. Is what I'm saying. Okay, $64 is not the sum of your achievements. All that other stuff is the sum of your achievements. Yeah. And the difference, obviously, there's still a difference. Yeah, he's doing better than you. There's always going to be somebody better than you. You know,
I know, but is it all of them?
No, it's not all of them. It's not all of them. And the listeners out there who are filmmakers out there right now are cursing you. Scott Turnbull, who is a filmmaker, I'm sure he would love to have. And he commented earlier, and that's why I'm bringing him up now. And I acted in his music video. Yeah. I'm sure that he's probably like, shut up, guy. You know, like, I wish I had an internationally distributed feature film under my belt. You know, like, it's all about where you are on the totem pole. Yeah. You know, and so yeah. I mean, and I just really think it's silly to compare yourself to people higher on the totem pole.
Well, I'm not. What I'm comparing though is
that they are your contemporaries and they're currently higher.
Like they about started when I about started. They're doing about the same level of budget thing as I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Now, what is the result of that thing?
Okay, and what is the difference between their techniques? Now, probably it could be that, there's a conspiracy against you.
You keep saying a conspiracy. I'm saying a failure on my behalf.
Okay.
That's not a conspiracy.
Okay, but the failure on your behalf is probably the lack of moving in those correct circles.
Maybe.
You know, which is so important in our industry. It's absolutely one of the most important parts. It's almost undervalued. Like it doesn't get the respect it deserves. You know, like a person who's a great filmmaker, you should almost be able to give them accolades for being a great networker, because that's what it's really about at the end of the day. Yeah. Working with those right people. And that's the other thing. I have noticed a real increase in the caliber of people I'm kind of like associating with and dealing with on a professional level, the things I'm being cast in and all that stuff. And it's all built off, I survived a zombie Holocaust. It's all built off I survived a zombie Holocaust, and those other creations. So shut the fuck up, basically.
Well, let the listeners decide, eh?
Well, they've decided, mate. They decided fucking 20 minutes ago when I began my fucking tirade.
Should I compare myself to people that have roughly done the same thing that I've done, and where they're at versus where I'm at? Or should I simply compare myself to no one and just keep going?
Well, what do you think the answer's going to be, Guy? What do you think the average response is going to be?
I think they'd say, look, it's entirely fair for you to compare yourself to those people.
I'm not saying that there's something where you absolutely cannot gauge your place in life based on your contemporaries. Of course, we all do that, but I'm just saying that it's not very productive, and it's undermining. If anything, it's undermining your own confidence as opposed to
those two things are true. It is not productive to do it.
It undermines your own confidence
unless you're comparing yourself favorably, which I'm not.
Which you're not.
So it's not productive to do it.
Which by default leads to you undermining your own confidence and dwelling on negatives as opposed to the massive achievements which we have.
Well, look, that's the best point you've made so far,
mate. I'm so fucking pointy. I'm like a porcupine.
That is the best point you've made so far, and it's true. And look, you do tell yourself those things. You do go, hey, look, you can't compare yourself. You've just got to keep going. But you do, you do, because it's human nature too.
I'm gonna keep going on this bottle of red wine over here.
Okay, you go for that, mate. Just
Guy had a fucking coffee.
Knock yourself out of that week, because after this,
I've got to eat it. I was like, yeah. So I'll probably break the news tonight, I guess. Guy,
big news,
big news. And I was like, you'll have a red wine with your old mate.
Well, for starters, I wouldn't have a red wine because I just don't drink red wine.
Well, I've found red wine to be actually quite comforting.
And at this point, I'm sure you're right. It probably is.
It is,
especially a bottle of it.
Well, that's only half a bottle. It's last night's bottle. Leftovers from yesterday's misery, basically.
Exactly. Look, we all got things that we get depressed about, Harley.
Guy, and my 1 week old fucking breakup.
There you went on a 5-year journey. I went on a 5-year journey. We both went on 5-year journeys, and it was hard.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's fucking shit at the end.
Well, I guess the difference is that at the end you fucking released a feature film.
Yeah.
I fucking got dumped. So, you know, I just feel like we're in different places.
Well,
I feel like we're in different parts of the totem pole, and you're up higher.
I don't know.
Red wine. I did notice something about red wine, and I'd read this or heard this or something before. Does make it easy to cry. More so than other booze, in my experience.
What did they say there about gin though?
Oh, maybe it was gin, but I've found red wine.
But you're drunk and you're now crying. So so you see, you feel like it's red wine.
So I feel like it's actually a red wine thing. Now, look, moving on for temporarily at least till we come back to that. Now, look, I have this is a filmmaking podcast about our lives. I've got a film review. I just came from Alien Covenant. Literally just came in the door and began recording this podcast. Covenant is how I'd say it. They don't say Covenant. They don't say this is the ship Covenant. They say this is a colony ship Covenant.
Didn't you just say what I said?
No, you said. What did I say? Covenant.
Yeah, didn't you say Covenant or did I say Covenant?
I don't know.
I think no.
We'll
I said
let the listeners
Covenant.
decide.
Covenant. That's what I said.
What did I say? Covenant.
Covenant.
All right. Okay. Well, maybe it's Covenant then. But
maybe it is. But that's what I was just asking.
No, it's probably Covenant. But look, that's just my accent.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm really confused now. But anyway,
Alien Covenant.
This is the only ever movie review, pretty much, where we both actually watched this movie.
Well, that's not true. The listeners are going to give us the time codes and episodes of various times when we've both watched the same movie.
The only other...
Look.
Iron Man.
I didn't watch that. I didn't watch that. I just came in and shat all over it. When somebody got blasted somewhere.
When someone got blasted into some sand dunes.
So anyway, look. Stick to the fucking... On track, guy. On track. We're doing a movie review.
Hacksaw Ridge is the other film we both saw.
Now... Alien Covenant, I just went and saw it right then by myself on one of my lonely adventures, and it was really it's really middle of the road, and I don't want to give any spoilers yet because it is still in cinemas, so we should hold off. So there's no spoilers, and I do suggest that people go see it. It's nowhere near as bad as Life, for example. But
how did you rank it next to Prometheus?
Well, they were probably Prometheus was slightly better.
Oh shit!
Yeah, like because Prometheus was weird, but it was weird in an sort of an arty kind of forgivable kind of way. Like I was like, well, it doesn't really make sense to me entirely, but I'm willing to forgive it because it feels like a bit of an arty kind of movie. Whereas this just felt like a really bad movie. Well, not really bad, but just not that great. Just had too many holes for me. And the thing is, I'm a skeptical thinker. I can't handle it. I mean, like, I hate to come back to this, but guys, the quarantine protocols.
I knew you were going to talk about the fucking quarantine protocols.
For fuck's sake, they're landing on a new planet. No spoilers. They're landing on a new planet. You know, now we see this all in the trailer. They land on a planet. You know, this is in the trailer. A guy stands on a fungus of some description, which puffs out some little
quarantine procedures.
Something dangerous, and you're like, what the fuck is that thing? And it's like, okay, guys, when you land on a new planet and get out of the ship, you don't just walk out smoking a cigar. You have a fucking, full quarantine going on. And if you do that, well, then you're not going to have problems like this one, because at the end of the day, your biology did not evolve to live on this planet. So basically everything there is going to be deadly to you, more or less, because you've got no immunity to it. So it's just not okay. You don't just wander off the ship. And basically the entire way through, people were just doing stupid shit to advance the storyline, and it's like, okay, look, this is not working for me. This doesn't convince me at all. And they were so, again, it was the same in Life. The case of the bumbling crew, where it's like, okay, so the problem with astronauts is they follow a lot of protocols, and they do them for very sensible reasons. So how can we get around that? Well, we'll just make all the fucking astronauts idiots. That's what we'll do. We'll just make them all total fucking idiots who should not be in charge at all. And they'll just do basically, you know when there's the wrong thing to do and there's the right thing to do, they will always choose the exact wrong thing to do. And as a result, the stakes will become higher and higher, which is basically what happened. They just repeatedly made stupid mistakes. They were completely undertrained. It was like they were just like not a real kind of like space crew, They were like just some idiots in charge of a ship, like all of them, like none of them were redeemable, and they just all did dumb shit, and it just really frustrated me. So basically the film is not scientific, not based on reality, and the characters
Alien Covenant,
and the characters were just so dumb that you're like, okay, you guys all deserve to die. And I sort of just, I'm not saying that everyone dies or anything like that. I'm just saying that like in the first 15 or first 20 minutes I started seeing the signs, and then at about 25 minutes I was like, okay, cool, well look, I hope you guys all die really soon, because I really don't want to be, I hope this isn't, I actually thought, I was like, fuck, I hope this isn't like a long run movie. And so so like it was. Don't get me wrong, it was fine. It was better than Life. I do still think you should go see it. It's a worthy kind of continuation of the story, but it really kind of just pissed me off mostly.
On the other hand, I thought it was fine. I did enjoy it. I think it was very enjoyable. As long as you're not going to fucking Neil deGrasse Tyson your way into the whole fucking thing.
But I'm not talking about anything Neil deGrasse Tyson.
You're talking about Quarantine Protocols. You Neil deGrasse Tyson in it.
I'm talking about basic kind of
You're deGrassing it big time, bro.
You're going to a new planet.
Yeah, but you
don't
really
just land. And then there was all these things as well that happened that were designed clearly just to heighten the tension as opposed to further the storyline. And so it was like, there was things like, this is not a spoiler. It really is not a spoiler. They're going to land an aircraft at a certain point, and they can't, they don't know where to land it, right? But there's nothing wrong. There's no issues. There's no like, it's not a crash landing. It's just, they're just landing, and they're like, oh, wow, the stakes are so high. I guess I'm going to put it down like aquatically. And they land in some water, and you're like, okay, all right, well, fair enough. Maybe there's nowhere flat where they could like land this ship, so they land it aquatically. It's a spaceship. It's not a big deal. But then they fucking got out of the ship in the water, which was knee deep. So they'd actually landed in the shallows, and there was a massive flat space just directly next to the water. And it was like, so they landed in the water, and this whole water thing was really just to raise tension. It wasn't that there wasn't a place that they could walk around and like, park and all that shit. It was just silly. It was just like,
Harley,
it was a writing
come on,
failure.
Man. Harley. It looked cool and cinematic with them wading through the water.
It did. It looked cool and cinematic with them wading through the water.
Cool.
And it looked cool
Enough
because...
said, my bro.
It looked cool because in Milford Sounds in New Zealand, that was filmed in New Zealand.
Bloody New Zealand looked amazing.
It did look great in it. It did look
bloody
great.
Good.
Yeah, so if you guys watch it, all that stuff where the ship's landing in the lake, that's New Zealand.
I can't wait to visit the disc jockey in Milford Sound. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
So in Alien, beginning with Alien and moving right through that big kind of alien thing.
What alien
that
thing?
That alien spacecraft.
From Prometheus.
From Prometheus and from this and from
this.
And from Alien.
Is it an alien? That like kind of U-shaped spacecraft is an alien, the original?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they call that the disc jockey. Because there's that rounded panel where you do all your shit from, like a disc jockey.
Okay.
So the joke being that I would go to visit that, which of course is not there because the only thing that's down there is bush.
Right. Okay.
Glad we got deGrasse Tyson up to speed.
Okay.
But I will just say, if you can put aside your deGrasse nose, you the audience, and just enjoy the sort of the visuals, the acting's pretty solid, the alien's pretty freaky, I think you have a good time.
Ah, the alien. Well, it didn't really bother me too much.
I think you have a pretty good time.
There was a bit where it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, mate. What are you doing? Don't go to the place with the thing. No, don't put your face next to the, for fuck's. You know, like honestly, it was like so stupid.
That bit was a little bit silly.
And just all of it. They were just idiots. They were just, all of them were just really dumb, and they were completely untrained. And as soon as anything goes wrong, instead of like following protocol like a trained fucking person would, they were just like running around like fucking idiots, like waving their fucking hands above their heads. And I was like, for fuck's sake, you know. And it was a real shame, because I was like, there was just a real lack of attention to detail in a lot of things, I felt, you know.
Well, I guess this is a good example of slightly sloppy writing versus very intelligent writing, because I think the easiest sort of comparison for this film is to Aliens, the classic James Cameron sequel to Alien,
which was great, which was in my opinion the best of the series,
and it is arguably
the entire franchise.
Absolutely,
Aliens is the best of the entire franchise.
And I think that
but don't watch the director's cut. It's too fucking long. It's way shitter.
I honestly really can still not really notice the difference between the two.
I just remember loving the original Aliens as a 8-year-old when I saw it, and then when I watched it more recently with Angie,
oh boy, triggered.
When I watched
Triggered.
it more recently with Angie, you know, it felt a lot longer and just difficult to get through.
Well, that's weird though, because I don't think I pretty much grew up on the director's cut. I don't even think I really saw the original.
I saw the TV cut
for a long time. So to me, it was just, I was spellbound by that version as well. Maybe it is too long, but I think that they kind of tackled the problems of like these people going into place and shit going wrong for them in a way that you go, oh yeah, as opposed to going, why are you doing that? That is dumb. That is stupid. Like each decision they made seemed to come from a place of like, well, what are you going to do next? That's what you do.
Where's this? In Aliens?
In Aliens.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. This is what I'm saying.
And perhaps that level of detail and care, I think it's a valid criticism to say that was not evident here.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not saying that there wasn't some silly decisions made.
Like, what am I going to do now? Well, you should do the stupidest thing possible. Whatever's the stupidest thing, do that.
But I certainly didn't have an issue, like, you know, like the whole helmet thing. Yeah, you're right. Totally, you're right. Except that who gives a fuck? It's a movie. So let's all get them out there, and let's all get them out there without helmets, so something can get into them, and obviously aliens can start fucking shit up, because that's what we all came. That's what we all came to see.
Yeah.
So
that's not what I came to see.
So yeah, you came to fucking Degrassi it.
No, I came to see a show with characters that behave realistically, given the extreme and outlandish, crazy circumstances they're in, which is what I'm interested in. I want to see how a real human would react. I want to see a good interpretation of that from the writer. How would real life humans react to these crazy situations, you know? And I felt like they did not react in ways that any, you know, real life person would respond.
Did you like the android stuff?
The android stuff showed a lot of potential, and as obviously lots of interesting things going on there. Absolutely. Yep. You know, it's great. The film does explore some good ideas, which is why I do say go see it, and it's why I do say it's much better than Life. You know, like Life was let's not even compare it to Life. The only comparisons I have is that I didn't like the character writing in Life, and I didn't like it in this either. You know, I felt like people weren't behaving realistically. Although there was some fucking CGI-itis of like a fucking space seaman fucking monster.
Well, I was going to say, I was like,
zapping around.
Don't you think that the cum monster from Life, like there was an alien cum monster in this.
Yeah,
there was.
And
there was an alien cum monster.
It had CGI-itis of like, you know, you watch the originals, right? And something
Harley, you can't depict a cum monster without CGI creating it. There's simply not enough cum to build up a monster out of.
Fucking check out my bedroom, mate. Check out my fucking bedroom if you need a supply, mate. All right? If I can wring out one of my socks, bro.
The cum prosthetics are not advanced enough for them to do it any other way. If you need a cum monster, you've got to create it in the computer.
No, okay, sure, that's fine. But they needed more than a cum monster. They needed like the alien monster. And in the original Aliens, you know, they had a real life puppet prosthetic thing that was there, and it was a scary, intimidating thing, and it was real, and you could see that it was in the frame with the actor. Whereas in this case, what did they do? I don't even know if they had any real puppets in there. It was basically all fucking CGI, and not just CGI, but like long lingering shots of shitty looking CGI aliens like squeaking and squawking, and you're like, for fuck,
They were quite squawky.
Yeah, well,
I feel like they've gotten squawkier.
They were
Evolution of the alien is squawkier.
Yeah, so yeah, look, that's fine, but look, let's
glowing review from Harley Neville. Go see it, but here's all the things that made it terrible. This made it terrible.
But okay, look, just to round that off and finish it off, there was some redeeming features. It did explore some interesting storylines. It did set up some interesting worlds and all that stuff. So it is interesting, and it's portrayed great. The ship looks awesome and believable, and there's various things that look great. But I couldn't quite buy the characters. But I do think you should go see it.
New Zealand looks good though.
And New Zealand looks
bloody good.
I do think it's worth watching. I wasn't like, oh fuck. Like Life, I was like, I want to get out of here. Whereas this, I was kind of like, well, I hope it's not too long.
Yeah, in Life, you were thinking about creating your own gum monster.
Well, exactly.
You wanted to get out of there and create your own gum monster.
Now,
moving on.
Now, speaking of space, I just thought I'd touch on something else here. So last night I did poetry. I did it live at a place that I go to regularly to perform live poetry. And it went well. It was a really big crowd. It was a pretty good night. Now, I was sitting out the back, minding my business, which is normally what I do. I sit out the back and kind of work on my poems and stuff like that, and just kind of rehearse and so on, because I don't always know them off by heart, and I'm trying to remember. And so I sit out the back, right, and these people come along who were definitely kind of following me, kind of followed me around a little bit. Poetry groupies, perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but they sort of followed me around a bit, and they came back out to this area I was hanging out, and I was out there, and I was quite happy. I found a little spot all by myself, and I was just rehearsing my poems.
You're trying to get used to it,
and I was just making a cum monster, and then so they came up, and that was fine, and they wanted to make some small talk, and they were like chatting away and just kind of like talking sort of shit, but it was fine, I wasn't there to socialize. I wasn't feeling particularly social at this time in my life, but I was like, all right, whatever. I'm going to talk to these people, and then the fucking guy starts talking about space, right? And he goes, the moon is a star.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, it's not. And he was like, oh, well, it's up there. This isn't because the way it started was he goes, oh, the moon's it's so crazy, isn't it? It's so weird. Like, oh, so crazy, the moon.
Who the fuck was
just
this guy?
Just some fucking guy. I don't know. He was like, oh, the moon's so fucking weird, isn't it? Like, isn't it crazy? It's like up there. It's a star. I know it's a star. And I was like, well, no, it's not a star. And he was like, oh, you know what I mean. It's a dead thing. And I was like, well, all right, I guess.
Yeah, well, you're uncovering a scientific.
Well, I guess you
fucking bag of worms right now. My Degrassi sense is tingling right now, and I want to fucking kneel the fuck out on you right now, but I don't know if I have the energy in me to give you my full Tyson Fury right now.
He's like, it's a dead thing, and I was thinking, well, yeah, if you consider something that never lived to be dead, then I guess it's dead.
Well, also the idea that stars are dead, which they're not.
Well, he's not even talking about stars. He's calling the moon a star.
But then he's saying, like it's a dead thing. Like stars are a dead thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which, as far as we know, they are. But still, so it's a moon, it's a star, it's a fucking dead thing, whatever, right? And I was like, okay, well, whatever. And then he was like, but isn't it weird? Like, how come we can see the moon, but we can't see all the other stuff, like Jupiter and the other planets and stuff? And it was, and here I am. This is a polite conversation sort of situation, you know?
Well, it's getting less polite by the second.
I don't know the guy. I don't give a shit. I'm certainly not looking to start, having in-depth conversations about space with strangers in the fucking back courtyard or trying to practice my fucking poems, But he's like, oh, well, how come we can see it? And it's like, well, it's because it's way fucking closer, isn't it? It's way fucking closer. And he was like, well, they don't look very far, like on the planetary diagrams. And it's like, well, that's because they're not drawn to scale on the diagrams, you muppet. The distances they deal with are far too vast to fit on a piece of paper. It's just for show kind of thing. And and then at that point I was kind of like, well, I'm going to go inside and get a beer. And I kind of interrupted and left. But it was just like, I guess it boggled my mind that there's just, I'm not a scientist, guys, I literally failed high school. I passed one class in high school, which was classics. Nothing to do with science. I failed sixth form science twice, if I'm not mistaken. It boggles my mind that there are people out there that are so oblivious about what's happening in their kind of the big soup that they're floating in.
Well, because the big soup's boring, that's why.
Boring? It's literally the most interesting thing that exists. It's why we're here. Understand space and you understand humanity.
Well, you don't, because unfortunately we don't have a lot of the answers, which is part of the problem.
We've got so many more answers than people think.
Oh my God, look, you're not trying to sell me on it.
I'm not selling anybody. I'm just saying that,
I'm taking the perspective of why don't people care about things?
Because
and the answer is very simple.
I've got a better answer.
It's because they do not affect them directly.
Okay, that's a fair enough answer.
And so, when you talk about, obviously, some of these ideas are really too big to comprehend. In fact, they are so big to comprehend that we haven't been able to comprehend them. That's what scientists are working on, and they haven't really managed it quite yet.
Well, you're talking about the very beginning of existence and these types of things.
And the size
we're not talking
of the
about
universe and the
size of the
expansion
universe and the expansion of time. We're not talking about the fucking moon. We know a lot about the moon, mate. We've got better maps of the moon than we do of the ocean floor. For fuck's sake,
But what I'm saying is, when you start thinking about space, you get into some of these big questions, which are too big. And then also, you get into this issue was I can see the moon, but I can't touch it. The moon doesn't pay my bills, so I'm tuning out of moon stories.
Yeah.
And that's the big deal. I think that, myself included, but certainly you'll find a lot of people just very uneducated. There's, that...
Okay, but how do you walk around
because they just
for
don't
every
care.
fucking day of your life and not really want to learn about the thing directly above you, the sun or the moon, sort of go
because whatever you...
I just want to know the basics,
Because whatever you want to learn...
You don't have to be an expert.
Because what you want to learn is more closely related to you, how to build to build this car,
how to build this thing, or how to bang the chick. Yeah, look, I get it. But that being said, every now and then you've got to go, well, hold up a second.
We don't.
What's the fucking sun actually?
Well, no, you
what
don't.
What is it?
Because the sun rises tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. I mean, you do if you're a more
this is a
deeper thinker, but you don't if you're not.
Okay, I guess so, but I guess my definition of a deep thinker is obviously different to yours and to his, I guess, because
he's just Harley. His primary concern every day is where he's gonna score his next bag of weed.
Maybe.
And that is, is the weed growing well this year? Are the crops good?
You go, well, actually it is growing well because of the sun.
But he doesn't know about the sun.
Because of the fucking sun, mate.
If anything, he's probably more concerned with the weather patterns that the sun creates. But he doesn't know about the sun. He's just worried about the weather. Is it rainy today? Is my weed crops growing? Is there enough sun to keep my weed getting big, those buds getting big?
Absolutely no way this guy was smart enough to be able to grow weed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You'd be surprised people what they apply themselves.
Look, what I'm saying is that I'm disappointed in humanity, and more so each day. This is a first world country with a first world education system, supposedly.
Well, supposedly.
This guy didn't know what the fucking moon was. He didn't know what the moon was.
And I just want to point this out. This is one of your poetry mates.
Mate.
Quickly interject here. This is a poetry connoisseur guy. This would go right here.
No. First things first, he was not performing. Okay?
No, but
he was just a guy at the pub, and he was not performing.
He's just enjoying the poetry, man.
Okay, that's fine. And he's stupid people can enjoy poetry too, man. You know, but he himself was not
He's one of your poetry
one of my contemporaries.
Brethren.
One of my contemporaries or anything like that.
No, he wasn't.
Okay, this was just some guy at the pub. Now look, I must say as well, he did. There's nothing. I'm not angry at the guy.
He did smell of weed.
He seemed okay. He seemed all right. I don't have anything against him personally, but I was very disappointed by that conversation. That's what I'm saying.
It only added to your general malaise at the time.
Another poetry, yeah, exactly. Another poetry issue I had was there's this other guy.
Poetry beef, baby, it's coming back.
This other dude who remained nameless, right? And I remember when I first went to poetry night, I was like sitting by myself because I always go by myself. Just generally speaking, I just go along by myself.
And you can't get anyone to come with you because it's poetry night.
I literally don't want people to come with me. The only time I want them to come is if I've got a gig.
You're taking a stand against friends. And they may be taking a stand against you in this case. But anyway.
I don't generally make a big thing like, hey, come on down to poetry night, guys, because I don't want them to, because I want to be able to get up and do poems straight from the heart without feeling like, oh no, fucking,
guys judging that guy in the corner who's not wearing shoes and doesn't know what the moon is and has bought a sandwich from home
to eat at the pub
because he's too poor to buy anything. He's judging my mate over there. He's casting aspersions on poetry because of that guy in the corner, and now it's throwing off my
game.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that happens, and so the point was that I had another poetry story. Oh, so this other fucking guy.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm about to go on. Probably 15 minutes before I'm about to go on, right? And it's a show, right? It's a fucking show. I'm up there. I'm performing. It's a goddamn show. This fucking guy comes up and he says... He's like, hey, I've got some advice for you. And I was like, oh. And I was literally like, goody.
Because it's clearly not in a very sociable mood at the time.
I was not in a sociable mood. And who the fuck wants some fucking guy's fucking unsolicited advice?
Because I like to give unsolicited advice from time to time. But is this guy's like a poetry maestro himself?
So we'll get to that. So this fucking guy, he comes up to me, and he's like, I've got some advice for you. I've read this book, The War on Cliche. Don't do cliches. Sometimes I notice your stuff is cliche.
Oh man,
it's like so I'm sitting here 15 minutes before a fucking performance, and this fucking guy comes up to me and he's saying that my writing's cliche, and it's like, okay, listen, you fucking you.
Listen, you contemporary of mine.
I
really do not respect that remark. Well, it's in more context of my performance coming up.
Exactly. It's like, what is wrong with you? Okay, I'm not against constructive criticism, when it's required and when at the appropriate time, right? Now, the appropriate time is not 15 minutes before a performance, because a person wants to concentrate at that time, and they want to, do the best possible job and feel confident and so on. So you don't wander up and attack them 15 minutes before performance. Maybe afterwards you could say something. But if you're going to go out dishing fucking advice to people, don't let it be something as vague as don't use cliches. And it's like, well, for fuck's sake, mate, you've got to give me a solid example or multiple examples of times when I've done cliches that could have been avoided, but of course I didn't want to get into all of this. I don't want to have a fucking fight with the guy fucking 15 minutes before my performance.
You didn't want to get into fisticuffs.
I literally didn't want to be talking to him.
contemporary.
I didn't want to be talking to him, let alone arguing with him. Yeah. You know what I mean? But to add insult to injury was this whole thing of well, I don't really feel like he's qualified to be, I feel like he's made a massive sort of presumption here, in that he he has not, as far as I can see, he's not in any way more qualified than I, or more, hasn't achieved any more things than I, or anything like that. So it's really kind of coming out of nowhere from, it's unsolicited and unwarranted and unjustified.
And
It's
also,
can't come from him.
in terms of pretentious things to do, reading a book called The War on Cliches is a cliche of what a pretentious person might do.
So I sort of told him as much anyway. I was like, well, look, man, what are you doing? Like, I'm 15 minutes before a performance. You're coming up to me to, I was like, you've got no examples of the cliches you're talking about. And he's like, well, I can think of one. And I was like, well, I don't want to fucking hear it. Because I'm about to go on fucking stage.
That's quite a funny exchange. I do have one, actually. Well, I don't want to fucking hear it. Yeah. Fuck off, all right?
Basically, it was like, I don't want to hear it. I'm about to go on stage. The last thing I need to hear is criticisms of my work, especially because as a creative person, before you, the public, you, the audience, hears a single word that has come from me, it has already passed through several filters of my own in order to make it the best possible thing I can come up with.
Quality filters. It's
Exactly.
past the Harley quality filters.
Exactly. And so that's not to say it can't be improved, but that is to say that me, my own worst critic, has
Deemed
approved
it worthy.
Has approved it. And so the last thing I need before I go on stage is somebody undermining me like that. And he backtracked. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean about the poetry. I was more talking about the Hollywood thing, because we'd sort of been talking about acting and stuff.
After you flipped your wig, he kind of backtracked hurriedly, as if he was a little bit scared of you.
And I was, I guess there's a little part of the story I left out, which is that...
There we go.
Well, which is that, last night, I was debuting my new poem. The one that you guys just heard before. The one about my current, relationship situation. And so I just really wasn't in the zone to be talking to some fucking guy and taking fucking criticisms. I'm still reeling from fucking Moon Man, And now here I am. I literally went inside to avoid Moon Man, and I get fucking the war on cliche. And it's like, for fucks. God, for fucks, leave me alone, all you guys. And so...
all you crazy poetry people that come to poetry, just leave me fucking alone. You're all fucking crazy.
So that's what happened there.
Well, I wonder which one he was. Presumably, you didn't chase him up for that example.
No. Well, the thing was, he was kind of. It seemed like maybe he sort of immediately backtracked, and it almost seemed, and you won't like this, it almost seemed like he was actually talking about maybe more filmmaking related stuff than poetry. Because we were actually talking about Hollywood at the time, and afterwards he was like, oh, I didn't mean about poetry, I mean actually about the Hollywood stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Now, look, the fucking guy, as far as I know, has zero credentials in filmmaking,
is he
as far as I'm
poet?
aware. Yeah, he's a poet. Well, as much as I'm a poet, right?
Well,
he's a fucking guy who reads poetry.
Are his poems really good?
Well, I don't listen. I sit out the back and smoke doobies.
Are they
I don't listen. I don't really listen to the
you
other
smoke
parts.
doobie. You sit out the back smoking doobies with Moon Man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the other part of the story you left out, is that you just smoked a giant doobie with Moon Man, and that's why you got into that conversation.
No.
He was fucking stoned out of his brain.
Moon Man was stoned. Okay, I'll admit something to you.
Yeah, here we go.
Moon Man had a
fucking high
spliff.
as a kite.
No, Moon Man had literally just taken a few drags from a spliff. Right, so a spliff, I don't know if they use that term internationally, it's tobacco and weed together. And they offered me some, and I was like, no. Because smoking's bad for you guys, tobacco's bad for you. And I was like, no, thank you. So admittedly, he was high.
And he's
but being high doesn't mean you forget what the fucking moon is, man. I mean, there's the fucking moon, for crying out loud.
A spliff does not have that effect on you.
It doesn't. It sincerely doesn't.
Well, that's all good stuff.
It is all
it's
good
all good stuff. What are we going to keep going? Have you got anything else? Because if you got something else, we're going to fucking crack the 2 hours, which I'm actually okay with. I'm having a good time. Having some laughs.
Well, look, hardcore history, that's fucking 3 to 4 hours. I've been listening to that lately. 3 to 4 hours,
There's
and people
nothing
tune
wrong
in.
with a long podcast.
Look, here's what I do with long podcasts, right? I listen to them intermittently while I'm doing other things. Sometimes while I'm having naps. That's when I listen to hardcore history, and I kind of doze in and out of it while I'm having a wee nap on my bed.
Waking up thinking you're on the fucking
on the
Eastern Front.
Eastern Front. Front of World War II, or as I've been learning about lately, the Western Front of World War One. Yeah, well, I mean, we did leave on a bit of a cliffhanger. Actually, hang on. Before we get into that, not last week, but hang on. I've got some feedback here on YouTube. This is because I upload. So I think most people don't actually realize this, but I take the podcast, I edit it with a very long hour and a half, or in this case, 2 fucking hours.
Photo
montage. You realize how many photos that is? You have to find them, you got to find them and like trawling on through and doing all of that stuff. And every week I try to update it. And it's actually quite a lot of work. It's actually quite fiddly and takes quite a bit of time. And then I put it on YouTube, and luckily it's paying off because Chuck Black, for example, is a YouTube listener who has contributed twice to our PayPal account very generously. So if anybody else would like to contribute to the upkeep of Pigville, you can by going to PayPal, and all you need is my email address, harleyneville@hotmail.com. So Chuck Black, here's one of those listeners. But anyway, we do get comments and stuff on the YouTube version of the podcast, in between people fucking shitting all over. And so here's one. Now look, OtterLover95 has got a fucking beef with you, mate.
Does he?
He's got a beef with you, guy.
Oh, damn.
And this, if I'm not mistaken, this comment was posted on episode 98, the hairy ballerina.
Oh, yep.
And OtterLover95 comments.
Okay.
Harley is hairy, but certainly not disgusting. Gorgeous. I don't know if Guy means it, but it sounds like he has a serious case of self-hatred. Which is a shame. I agree with you there, OtterLover. That's Guy's cross to bear. Self-hatred.
I was going to say self-loathing, but
I'd more say self-loathing. I don't hate myself. It's more of a loathing.
Yes.
Look, the ladies have a special level of competitive. Now, I haven't pre-read this, so
okay.
Here's hoping it works. The ladies have a special level of competitiveness and self-hatred that they play between themselves. Men should consider themselves. Let me start that sentence again. Men should consider themselves lucky and not let themselves be dragged into the hell that ladies do to themselves. They don't do it for us men. They do it to compete with each other. The haircut, the job, straightening, curling, extensions, makeup, waxing, the clothes, the shoes, and it's all subtle. When women see a clean person, someone like Harley, or myself, with a chest-length beard, it's got to be inspiring. Like there's hope. There's people who do have the strength to be themselves. But then there's emotions after that. They fear if they have the strength themselves to do that. Then anger. Then a whole gamut of thoughts.
Oh, gamut.
Porn movies are dead. And presumably porn star. Okay, hang on. Let me just.
Well, porn movies are dead, not according to Harley's.
Okay. So that's the end of the hate against Guy. Okay. Right, so essentially he's saying that don't say Harley's got a disgusting body
because I am also disgustingly hairy.
No, because that's a horrible competitive world where men are competing against men like women compete against women, and it's a horrible petty world that we shouldn't get into. And I think that's essentially what he's saying. He's saying, and he's also saying that you hate yourself, and that that you, and when you say that I'm disgusting, you actually have a fear of my strength. And that you then feel anger and run the whole gamut of thoughts.
A gamut of thoughts.
Yeah,
I've got the gamut.
Okay, so the next piece of that is a follow-up piece, which is regards to my jerking off at
inappropriate times.
No. The idea that I would go and jerk off at a porn
Oh yeah, that's right.
What do we call it? Like a wank booth.
A wank booth, yeah.
On K Road.
Yes.
Okay. So we discussed this in episode possibly 98, saying that I might go down there and do that. Now I haven't got around to doing that yet, but I honestly, for you listeners, I'm going to do it and do some research and just find out what's going on at those wank booths on K Road.
We all know what's going on, but
now he says porn movies are dead, and presumably porn stores too, from what I've heard, and it makes sense. Anybody can use their vidcam and enter a chat room and have live sessions of whatever fantasy they have. Well, that's absolutely true. And I actually this was a bit of a revelation for me. I was like, fuck yeah, because like Chatterbait, mate. If you ain't on the Chatterbait train yet, mate, you got to get on board, mate.
okay, I'm not on that train.
You got to get on the Chatterbait train because, like, honestly, I very rarely visit regular porn sites now. It's all about the Chatterbait.
So Harley has just given a top masturbation tip for all our listeners. So
Chatterbait, guys.
There you go.
Chatterbait.
So if you have
a friend of mine told me about it. His name's Hamish, and he told me about it. And you got to check it out, guys. It's the future of pornography. Now I haven't actually signed up for an account yet and spent any money there or anything like that. But you can look at the cams without paying, but you just can't request any things, and there's lots of things you can't do. But you can still you can still shoot one off, guys. And so he continues regarding porn. The San Fernando Valley used to be the porn capital in the US, but apparently business climaxed a few years back, and things are dribbling to a shriveling after many days of joyful orgasmic profits.
That's a great line with the dribbling and shriveling. What was it?
So he says the porn industry had climaxed a few years ago, and now things are dribbling to shriveling.
Dribbling to shriveling.
After many days of joyful orgasmic profits. And then he continues to say...
Very articulate writer, Otter Lover 20... What?
95.
Otter Lover 95.
Yeah, he is actually. Now, there's one more paragraph here. Just because someone has gone to uni doesn't mean a person is smarter. Now, I don't know what we're talking about here.
Well, it's good for us.
A radical Christian freak from the US. Sigh, yes, no doubt. From one of the southern states. I apologize for that. I'm not from a southern state. I am from the US. Every country has a portion that embarrasses the rest of the country, right? So
talking about Donald Trump.
He must be referring to something that we spoke to last week about, religious shit and Donald Trump probably.
Right. Well, it's interesting thoughts. I mean, I feel like his perspective on my perspective may be a little biased himself due to the fact that his name is Otter Lover 95. So I feel like there may be, something there in that.
What do you mean?
Well, in there, what is an otter?
Well, I'm a little unsure, but I suspect it's me. It's
yeah.
It's within the beer lover community, there are different genres of beer, I guess, and I think that maybe an otter is like a younger, not fat, hairy person,
hairy guy.
Yeah. But I
with
could
maybe
be wrong.
a shaved head or no?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's a prerequisite. I doubt it. I think it's really about the body. I don't think they care about my head hair or not.
Because obviously with no hair, you look more like an otter than you would if you had hair.
Right. True. Yeah. I don't know, but apparently I'm an otter.
Yeah,
evidently,
and he's Otter Lover 95. So he may be projecting a few of his things onto me, but maybe you got me. Maybe I do hate myself as well. And look, to be honest, I am not a big fan of being hairy. And interesting.
Are you seriously though? Like in all seriousness, like I understand we were teenagers. Guy and I once had this project where we saved our money
to get a hair
removal device called IGEA,
and we called it the Dream.
We saw the infomercial for this thing called IGEA, and the idea, it was like a set of tweezers. You plug it into the wall. It was like an electrified set of tweezers kind of thing, and you could grab each hair individually, and you just had to hold it. And zap that hair
and
until
after
it
a couple
eventually
of times,
it was meant to
would never grow out,
fall
never
out.
grow back.
Yeah, But you know,
It was a load of shit.
it was an absolute load of
The
shit.
biggest load of
but,
shit.
But what makes it funny actually is that Guy and I saved a lot of money, and we referred to it in code as the dream.
And talked
the
about
dream
it a
being
lot.
to be not hairy.
Yeah.
Because Guy was ashamed of his hairy butt, and I was ashamed of my hairy everything. And we saved up this money. We
And
got it
back.
It didn't really work, and then we sent it back and got our money back, as I recall.
Did we get our money back?
I think
I think you're right.
No,
there.
we gave up on it within the trial period. We were
That's
like, nah,
right.
this is bullshit. This
And
is
we
fucking bullshit. We
because
got
they
our
give
money
you
back.
Money back guarantee.
Yeah. But you know, in all sincerity, nowadays I absolutely rock my hairiness and I legit don't really give a shit. Like, I actually, if I was offered today the opportunity to remove all of the hair, I'm not sure that I would say yes to that free laser surgery. And I'm actually okay with it now. I'm okay with my body and my hairiness.
You've also made a lot of friends.
Or the beer-loving community, for example.
And a lot of...
Imagine how disappointed they would be if I went out and got all my back hair and shoulder
be a
hair
mutiny.
laser removed. They would be
absolute
not happy
mutiny.
about that.
but no, look, I would not remove all of my hair. I'd just keep my hairy chest and
But why do
fine
you
with that.
care at all? Because nowadays it's like,
Well,
in your 30s, or for me anyway.
I've lost the war, is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that in your 30s...
being attractive is gone,
No.
and I've lost that.
I'm saying that in your 30s, being attractive actually is not about your physical appearance. It's about your confidence and the way you hold yourself. And so a person who can't hold themselves confidently because they're worried about their back hair is unattractive. A person with back hair who holds themselves confidently is okay still.
But not as attractive still.
Well, not necessarily as attractive as, you know, a hairless person with the same physique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, I feel like that's you comparing yourself to others as opposed to
my contemporaries.
being in your own skin. Exactly.
To my non-hairy contemporaries.
Exactly. It's comparing yourself to those non-hairy contemporaries. When, you know, there's no happiness in that. You've really just got to work with what you've got and you know, and go from there. And so,
Well, I mean, a couple of things. I am going to be pro wrestling.
yeah, which is okay. You can be a
And,
hairy pro wrestler.
Yeah, you can be a hairy pro wrestler, and there are a couple of hairy pro wrestlers who have condescending shave your back chants chanted at them throughout their entirities of their careers.
Yeah, but that's the gag. That's the gag.
It is a gag, but it's also like to some degree that does devalue their character a little bit. Like, yes, they get that reaction,
Yeah, but they're not portraying themselves like they're not being portrayed as.
Well, this guy,
Hulk Hogan, who happens to be hairy.
But that's the thing is, like,
You know,
for example,
they're portrayed as the comical
one. Yeah, exactly.
fucking-
But this hairy guy was kind of meant
Notre Dame, fucking
the hunchback.
the hunchback.
But that's what I'm saying. Oh, well, there's George the Animal Steel, who was the hunchback of Notre
Exactly,
Dame.
and he's not helping, is he? He doesn't help the image of hairy men.
He doesn't.
Is he the guy with the mask on his face, or is that
No.
the animal?
He is George the Animal Steel. He didn't have a mask. He has recently passed away, bless his soul.
Bless his hairy back.
Bless his hairy body. So, you know, don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he certainly didn't do anything for hairy guys. He put hairy guys back 50 years. No, but and that's the thing is, like, he's an animal, he's a monster, he's disgusting, look at him, the hairy fucking piece of shit. And then they were also saying, but like,
Exactly, but that's again marketing. That's marketing.
That's
because
marketing.
If they
And
took,
he
if they
owned
took
that.
a muscular, handsome, hairy man and that didn't care that he was hairy and like played up this Wolverine angle, you know, like
i.e. me.
that would be well, yeah, but you got to play out the Wolverine angle. As in, you got to like have a hairy back,
Oh yeah.
and but own it, you know, like so you're still physically in good shape, and you've got a hairy back, and you don't give a shit, and that's how you're not going to get the chance of shave your back.
Well, that's the thing,
shave
though,
your back
because there was a character who was sort of more in that zone than George the Animal Steel, and he definitely was taken more seriously when he started getting rid of his hair.
But when? What year was this? As
So
well?
we're talking about, I guess, late 90s
Exactly.
to mid 2000s.
So this was like arguably the fucking low point of wrestling, the lowest point of wrestling, right?
No.
The 80s was the golden age. It's coming back into another golden age. And then there was like the 90s where it was kind of
The early 90s were definitely a slump. But the late 90s, that was the another peak, and then a sort of a slump around 2003.
Right. Well, we're getting pretty specific. We're getting pretty specific nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look.
So, but anyway, my point
I
is,
still argue it's a marketing thing.
it is a marketing thing, and you can make it work, everything work to your advantage sometimes. But
I'm doing it, guys.
For me personally, I would get rid of my back hair and just not have to worry about it. And also that's the thing is like I don't put a huge amount of stock into being hairy like on a day to day, and I'm not when I take off my clothes. And girls see me, I'm not like, oh my God, I better cover up all this disgusting hair. I'm just like, well, you're in it.
Well,
you're in it. But in saying that, when I remove that hair and look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, this looks better. Visually, this is more appealing to me personally. But that's just my personal taste. I don't like my men with hairy backs. I like my men they can have a bit of hair on their chest, sure, go for it. But I don't like my men with hairy backs. When I'm sleeping with men, I want them not to have hairy backs.
So there you go, Otter Lover 95. That is Guy's
just
retort.
Just a personal preference, man.
That's Guy's retort. Me personally, I'm going to continue just owning and rocking the hair. I have been continuing to go to the gym just wearing my singlet and just not giving a shit. I did get into, and the owners of the gym potentially made a mistake. They were like, it was on my birthday actually.
Big mistake.
And they were giving away these coconut protein egg things, it was like healthy yummy snack to eat after the gym, and it happened to be my birthday, so they gave me one for free, and they took a picture of me with it, and here I was, like I had kind of gotten out of bed, put on my gym stuff, went to the gym, have a shower after the gym, obviously, so I haven't even showered. I'm just like, just disgusting, just hairy, just bearded, balding on top, but with like the hair on the sides not looking, like short and that great, just generally looking like pretty George Costanza, but hairier. And
yeah.
And they were like, hey, should we get a photo for the Instagram? And they did. They got a photo, and I was like, cool, whatever. And I was like, they're definitely not going to use that because that's just not the image they're trying to portray. They don't want to portray the image of
thing
like
they want to portray.
A fucking homeless man. We feed homeless people. That's what that photo would say. We feed homeless people. And
we feed homeless people too. Or we have homeless
people that hang out at the gym.
Well.
Yeah, we have homeless, stinky homeless guys that hang out inside the gym.
We don't discriminate.
We go to ballet.
We have stinky homeless men as well. We welcome all sorts here.
And so, but anyway, so for a few days I was like pretty sure that they were not going to use the image. And I planned on telling you listeners about it. But then... actually, they used it
as an example of, because we've had baldism and shinies,
yep.
But what's the term for
hairy backism?
Yeah, like against hairy people. What's that? Well, we need to find a word for that.
Yeah.
'Cause that's definitely a thing.
Yeah, some sort of racism against. I feel like the word hirsute fits in here somewhere. We'll use that. We'll work it in. Anyway, so I made it in the end. Anyway, I was Instagram worthy. I'm all hairy. That's on my Facebook. Go check it out.
And they didn't discriminate. They lost 50 gym members, but they didn't discriminate.
and a number of Instagram followers.
But they didn't discriminate, and that's what counts at the end of the day.
Another little thing
nugget.
Well, not quite gym related, but sort of was a while back. I had a meeting with a friend of ours who will remain anonymous. Let's call him Simon. Let's call him Say Jaiman. And he's a friend of ours, an active friend of ours, and I had a meeting with him, and he was immediately after meeting me, he was meeting with a film producer who had created a film which I auditioned for and got shortlisted for. It was an animated feature film, and it looked really cool, and I was disappointed to hear that he had actually landed my role. And now he was organising to meet with this producer and have a chat with them. But because he's a good guy, he was like, "Oh, I'll tell you what, you're on your way to the gym. I'm going to meet this person here at this cafe. So why don't you swing by on your way back from the gym while I'm having this meeting with this person and be like, oh, hey, mate, I haven't seen you for a while, just so as I can get in front of this producer and like have a wee chat and like remind them I exist kind of thing." And so we did it. And so I went to the gym, I came back, I was all hairy, I was wearing a singlet, and I went into this cafe just pretending like I had a reason to be in there.
Well, were you in that outfit? Your singlet?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was in singlet and shorts.
Well, look, at least you definitely get a stick of that producer's mind.
Exactly. Well, and so I went up and I was like, "Oh, hey, how you been, Simon? What have you been up to?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, good to see you." And we did the full performance.
Yeah.
The full haven't seen you for a while
Actors,
performance.
eh?
What have you been up to?
Actors and their shenanigans.
You know, and meanwhile she was sitting there like sort of following the conversation. Oh, you know, like, and she, you know, and then of course I turned the conversation to her. We got to chat, and I was like, "Oh, the thing with I auditioned," and she was like, "Oh, well, you actually got shortlisted," which was a powerful piece of intel for me. It was good to know.
Yeah, great to
because
know.
I didn't know that I'd been shortlisted until she told me. And then it all basically I just went on my way after that. But it was valuable. I gave her my card, my new card, which is Guy and I Naked. So I definitely will stand out in her memory. And then since then, I've actually seen her at the gym because her office is near my gym. That's why the whole connection is there. And so
at least it doesn't seem fake that you would be there.
Oh yeah, I saw her again. Like I actually saw her like. Maybe even it might have even been this morning. I think I saw her this morning at the same place. So yeah, it's I am regularly bumping into this person in the same area.
I hope she doesn't listen to the podcast.
No. Well, I guess time will tell. If she does, she might come up and say that she's a big fan.
I'd love to know after you left whether she personally remarked, "Fuck that guy's hairy,"
She may have,
or whether she just simply continued on. He seems like a nice guy, or because I feel like she's like, well, that's Harley. It's nice to meet.
We can find out.
It's nice to meet him in person, but fuck, I had no idea how hairy he was.
Well,
I really feel like there must have been some commentary on your hair.
We absolutely can find that out, though.
Let's
I'll
look into
ask.
that.
Well, look, I think we better wrap it up because it's 1 a.m. and I've got an audition in the morning.
And I've still got to do editing, which I was hoping to do about an hour ago.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to this particularly long episode. I think it's worth it. It's
been good. It's been cathartic.
A good episode.
It's been cathartic.
Yep. And it's about time we gave the listeners something decent after the disappointment that was our 100th episode.
It's about time we gave them a full giant cum monster of an episode.
Yeah. So that's the thing, listeners. We'll always let you know. We'll keep you posted, but sometimes it just takes a while for things to work themselves out. So yeah, we'll see what happens. If you guys would like to support us, you can. Patreon is a great way to do it. All you got to do is give us $1 a month or something like that, or whatever you want, however much you want. Prices are in US dollars, so don't be upset when you get charged $1.20.
And I wasn't disrespecting the Patreon people before. Let's make that very clear. If we get to this point where we're stopping paying for the insurance, that's actually really going to be
we're getting close.
Huge weight off my shoulders, because at the moment what I've got is too many outgoings that when I get billed, and if I could just cut those down a bit, I can do a bit more of this.
Exactly. So Patreon is a great way to do it. So if you go to patreon.com and search Pigville, you will find us. If you want to buy us a beer, give us a more of a direct one-off donation, you can do that too. All you need is a PayPal account. You go to PayPal.com and you need my email address, harleyneville@hotmail.com. If you are not prepared to part with to financially support us and part with your cash, that's totally cool. We appreciate you listening anyway, and we understand. And I basically never pay for any podcasts, so I understand. You can still help us just by going to YouTube, searching Pigville, hitting subscribe, hitting like on the Guy and Harley Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, and feel free to add me on Facebook, Harley Neville. So thanks for listening. That's all the plugging I've got.
And that's really, I don't have anything myself.
Oh, good contribution. Thank you very much. Good night.
See you later.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast. Proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.